Good morning. Thank you for joining us. I'm Stephen Bader, Executive Director of the East Bay Economic Development Alliance, or East Bay EDA. We're excited today to have our fourth speaker series of 2020, and today's topic will be on manufacturing, or as we call this panel, Made in the East Bay. This has been done in a partnership with Mannix Consulting, who is the Northern California preeminent leader in manufacturing support and consulting, and we've been really thrilled to have them as a partner on this. And before introducing turning it over to our moderator, who's from Mannix, East Bay EDA wanted to quickly let everybody know who's attending, manufacturers who are attending today. We're partnering also with the California Manufacturing Technology Consulting, or CMTC, to provide support in the wake of COVID-19 to assist small and medium-sized companies in Alameda County, and we'll be reaching out following the program if you've been on today. More information about what we're doing to help support that work can be found on our website at eastbayeda.org/manufacturing. Our moderator for today's panel is Michael Shabaka, who's Director of Sales and Innovation Excellence for Mannix. And he has more than 20 years of business development, sales experience, and marketing spanning several industries, including biotech, high-tech, publishing, environmental lab services, and the nonprofit sector. So Michael, we're thrilled to have you go ahead and take it away from here.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Michael Shabaka with Mannix Consulting, and I welcome you to the Made in the East Bay Speaker Series webinar. This webinar, hosted by East Bay EDA, is presented in partnership with Mannix Consulting. Mannix is located in San Ramon, and we are Northern California's regional MEP, and we're celebrating our 25th anniversary this year. Mannix provides consulting services and support to manufacturers across all areas of business, and we're excited to be a partner in this speaker series. To learn more about Mannix, please visit our website, mannixconsulting.com. We will start with a brief introduction of the speaker panel, beginning with Bassam El Famawi, Chief Executive Officer, Maui DNA Technologies. Dr. El Famawi launched Maui DNA Technologies in late 2014. He is the inventor of Maui's core technologies for room temperature stable biological sample collection. He has contributed significantly to the global fight against COVID-19 by repurposing iSwab microbiodome to be the primary sample collection technology for several FDA-issued emergency use authorizations. Dr. El Famawi has over 25 years of experience in the genomics sample preparation market. Next, we have Mark Morrissey, Vice President of Engineering and Products, Unigen Corporation. Mr. Morrissey has more than 20 years of industry experience in senior product and technical product development, business development, and support roles in radios, biometrics, and non-volatile semiconductor memory. Mr. Morrissey has served in various roles as VP of Engineering, CTO, VP of Business Development, VP of Operations for semiconductor manufacturers and technology companies. Next, we have PJ Quesada, Vice President and Treasurer, Ramar Foods. Ramar Foods is a third-generation family-owned and operated specialty food manufacturer. Mr. Quesada oversees all operations, including manufacturing, logistics, compliance, and expansion. He is a co-founder and chairman of the Filipino Food Movement, a nonprofit focused on promoting Filipino cuisine. And finally, we have Brian Paper, Chief Operating Officer, Bay Area Circuits. Mr. Paper is responsible for business operations, sales, marketing, and human resources. His experience and leadership have been focused on creating technology-driven manufacturing services, providing outstanding customer service, and driving profitable growth. Mr. Paper has created operation programs that provide his company with a foundation for future growth in sales, and marketing programs that promote the company's services on a national level. Welcome to the panelists. I'd like to start with our first question, which is for the whole panel, but we'll start with Mark. Mark, how has your company weathered COVID-19 so far?
Good morning, Michael. So it's really falls into four areas. Overall, I'd like to say we weathered it well. Initially, when the COVID happened, it was a very sudden event. So March 17th, everybody gathers, time to go home, all hands on deck. And that's obviously put a lot of fear in people not knowing what was happening. The next thing that I think that affected us greatly was our ability to understand, as essential workers, how we got to and from work worrying about being pulled over by police. How do we justify that we're doing what we're doing as essential workers? And that was a difficult time for us, or for uncertainty for our people. We took as a company a greater focus on risk management, trying to understand not just this event, but other events, and how do we streamline and how do we protect our business and our customers in this process. And then lastly, I would say we created a new normal, wearing face masks, protective gear, whether it's gloves. We have robotic temperature sensors when you walk in the building to make sure everyone's healthy and safe. So the weathering of this is living through a storm, but the bottom line, I think we weathered it quite well.
Thank you, Mark. Brian, how has your company weathered COVID-19 so far?
We've been pretty fortunate as well. I think financially speaking, the impact has been relatively minimal. I think we've slowed some decisions around, capital type expenditures that we might normally be making. Supply chain wise, things have gone pretty well. We haven't had too many disruptions, with the exception of, some customs delays and shipping carrier delays like everybody's experiencing with the influx of e-commerce. But probably the biggest challenge has been with workplace health and safety. We don't have a department for that. So I think that's been a bit of a challenge for us, just trying to navigate those waters. Initially, we were, there was a scramble, like how do we get enough PPE for our essential staff, right? And so, we went to the extent, like probably many others, we were, in the shop making hand sanitizer. And then we were also trying to figure out prevention, right? How do we keep our workforce healthy? And so we started implementing things like catering lunches, so people didn't have to go out. We're removing chairs from the break room so people aren't congregating together. Cleaning between shifts, staggering shifts so that people aren't overlapping. So those were all relatively simple things to figure out. But I think just one of the more challenging aspects is, what happens if somebody gets sick, right? What are our responsibilities there? And, I think those are things, fortunately, we haven't had to deal with yet, but we've had probably about 10% of our staff that's gotten tested or had a family member tested, and we've asked them to stay home, and we've paid them to encourage them not to come to work when they're sick. And so I think just navigating some of those workplace safety and health issues has probably been the biggest challenge for us.
Thank you, Brian. And Bassam, how has your company weathered COVID-19 so far?
So we weathered it very well, as like my former colleagues have described it. In a way, the most challenging aspect of it is getting to work. Early on, there was some, confusion about who's essential workers and how can you get your staff into work and produce products, especially for us, because we're in the middle of it. So basically, we make the sample collection that is being used for Covet testing. So we cannot afford to sit down, and we have to be at work. We have to be in the facility making product. So one of the things we did is, we have some of our staff saying, "Hey, can we get a letter?" And we really looked very hard to figure out if we can get letters for them if they get stopped, so they can flash it or show it to a police officer. And then we came up to the conclusion saying, you know what, anyways, we want to standardize our process. So basically, we actually provided scrubs for our staff. So basically, everybody in the facility cannot come in without having, having the scrubs on. And basically, we clean them, we give them 2 sets of it. And so basically, they alternate, and this is one way of actually weathering it from the beginning. Now it's a uniform for the company. The staff loves wearing scrubs during work. The other aspect of it, so basically, just changing the new norm of everything. Sanitizers everywhere, We changed all our soap dispensers to touchless, measuring temperatures, as our colleagues have mentioned. The staffs, actually what we did is, catering lunch, and we staggered lunches. So we don't have, we will have enough physical distancing, social distancing implemented in a way. We expanded. The biggest challenge for us, because of the demand on the testing, we had to break walls and get more space. So my staff doesn't go out, to other facilities in the Bay Area. So this is how we created more space for them to work safely. And it's all about, make the environment safe for them and maintaining them safe. So regular testing is being implemented here. Same, we implemented, if you have temperature, don't show up, we'll pay you until you recover. Everything is, you're okay. So we weathered it very well. We are still in it. We're actually still moving and innovating in the sample collection and trying to help in the Covet testing.
Thank you, Bassam. And PJ, how has your company weathered COVID-19 so far?
First off, thank you, Michael, and to the EDA for having me here. And thank you, Dr. Famawi, for all of your hard work. Being in the food business, we are essential workers, but I think one of the initial reactions we had, in addition to the fear, was this guilt that there are people that are doing work in the medical field. And here we are, we're making ice cream, we're making egg rolls. So there was definitely guilt about being designated essential workers in the beginning. Like the rest of you, we did issue very good looking letters to everybody that had to commute to work in the early days, and 2 people ended up having to use them. So it was definitely helpful. And I think the number one thing that helped us get through it was we've been building a culture of safety the past few years, developing safety committee chairs and making sure we have strong communication around all aspects of safety. So we were fortunate to have a kind of an infrastructure in place to begin interpreting the new ever-changing guidelines and collecting feedback from various employees. So it demonstrated this really brilliant resiliency that I think, we're in Pittsburgh, the far east Contra Costa County. There's a special resiliency, I think, to workers in the East Bay. But also being in the food business, we are no strangers to intensive sanitation protocols. So we've got 2 USDA meat processing facilities and a dairy processing facility where we conduct pasteurization. So daily sanitation facilities and even provisions like negative air pressure in certain production rooms have been a normal part of our process. Interestingly, frozen food is one of the most capital intensive industries you could possibly imagine, especially in this economic region. However, in this particular pandemic, all of those investments paid off in a really unforeseen way by making, whenever we had to do intensive sanitation, making that very, very easy. We have teams in place, we have foggers in many of our production rooms. So we felt very prepared and very, very fortunate. And anyone in the food business knows that the margins aren't exactly that great, but we are very grateful to be in the food business. With regards to social distancing, most of, you hear about a lot of meat processors where there's, hundreds of people shoulder to shoulder. We're what you would call like a secondary processor. So we're assembling the raw ingredients into a finished product. So a lot of our lines already had plenty of distance and a lot of ventilation and airflow and air filtration in our production rooms. There was one line that we did have to go full manual just because one particular machine required 3 people to be in very, very close quarters. So we did go to full manual there, but our goal was not to lay anybody off. And for our manufacturing business, we were able to do that. In fact, we've actually added a couple of people to try and keep up with demand. I know this is not the same type of story that is typically heard in the pandemic, depending on what industry you're in and your ability to react and get raw materials and things like that. I feel like we faced just about every single problem you could have. Cash flow challenges, personnel and staffing challenges just due to fear or due to suspected positive tests, the extra time and cost of PPE, just the stress of all of it. Raw material delays. Our supply chain was delayed from some of our overseas suppliers because their lockdowns prevented raw materials getting from the farms to the processors and then to the ports. And so this was probably April, May. We started looking at scenarios where if certain raw materials would not arrive in time, we were looking at a significant potential liquidity crisis. Unfortunately, we were able to get through it. One challenging thing is we had started diversifying a few years ago, and we opened up 6 ice cream scoop shops. So those aren't doing too well, unfortunately, but thanks to the growth on the frozen food retail side, we're going to be able to weather the storm.
Thank you, PJ. That's a really good segue into the next question, including your background, PJ. So I'll pose this question to you, PJ, but it'll be open to the entire panel. And that question is, why did you locate in the East Bay, and how is the location critical to your operation? We'll start with PJ.
Well, Pittsburgh has some of the best Mexican food, like outside of Mexico. So I'll just say that. But the East Bay, I think, has always been really manufacturing friendly. It begins always with this interest in inexpensive, available real estate that has flexible zoning, and even, if you guys remember, redevelopment when that was a thing in California. But what we also found is that the people in the business community at the Chamber of Commerce and also at the city of Pittsburgh were on this really, really passionate drive to bring new types of industry into Pittsburgh. And so in 1982, our first manufacturing plant was opened in Oakland. We were in distribution primarily before that. And then we moved to Pittsburgh, and we now have 3 facilities there. Pittsburgh makes it easy to be successful out there. And as Michael pointed out, to my background, this is a drone shot of one of my facilities. We are covered in solar panels. We have a fuel cell, and we employ about 180 people just at these facilities in the city of Pittsburgh. So I'd say it's a combination of the desirable real estate, the also availability of a very diverse and talented workforce. You'd actually be very surprised how many people have relocated with various talents and experience to this part of Contra Costa County, and the friendly business environment, I'd say.
Thank you, PJ. Thank you very much. And I'd like to turn it over to Brian and ask you the same question, Brian. Your facility is in Fremont, which is the opposite side of the East Bay in comparison to where PJ is. Why did you locate in the East Bay, and how is the location critical to your operations, Brian?
Well, we started in Redwood City. The company was founded in 1975, and we spent about the first 40 years in Redwood City, but there was so much development going on in Redwood City. There were high-rise condos going up around our little manufacturing facility, and I think we really just saw the writing on the wall that, for our long-term stability, we really needed to be in an area that was more manufacturing friendly. And so we relocated to Fremont. And I should say too, from the printed circuit board industry and what we do, I mean, there's chemical operations, there's waste treatment operations. So you can't just pick up our building and move it somewhere. It's a little difficult. There's a lot of permitting and things involved. So, but we found a home in Fremont, and it's been great being here. I think, just operating in the Bay Area and California in general poses some challenges to our overhead. I think a lot of our customers view what we produce as a commodity, and so we compete on price pretty frequently. But it's been tempting to consider relocation outside of the Bay Area, but at the end of the day, this is, being here in the center of innovation is part of the fabric of our company. And we really specialize in quick turn manufacturing, prototype manufacturing. So being here in the Valley allows like an engineer to drive across town and see where his or her product is being made, which has really been invaluable for us.
Thank you, Brian. And Mark, same question to you. Why did you locate in the East Bay, and how is the location critical to your operation?
So we've actually always been in the East Bay. For 30 years, we've been in business. And the reason it started here is simply, as Brian used the words, center of excellence, right? We are in Silicon Valley. Our customer base are the 10,000 customers that are developing the next generation of iPhones or next generation of Google servers or whatever it might be. And so, as Brian pointed out, and I'd like to echo it, having the ability for customers to come, be a part of the process, be a collaborator in the solutions that we're providing for them is invaluable. And I don't know if you can find anywhere in the world in the technology space that's more centric to technology than this area. Now, the East Bay in particular has a tremendous workforce. And I think PJ mentioned the diversity of the workforce, people bringing multiple talents. But in the manufacturing sector, this is the center of the universe, the East Bay. You don't find that in Palo Alto. You don't find that in Road City. You don't find that in other parts of the Bay Area. So not only are you bringing a diverse workforce that has deep talents in what we do, you also have the same customer base that are providing and needing interactions with us.
Thank you, Mark. And Dr. Bassam El-Famawi, why did you locate in the East Bay, and how is the location critical to your operation?
So actually, this is one of things that we're proud that we made the decision to come to the East Bay. So this is something I can speak about with passion. So we're a garage company. When we developed the technology, it was in my house, in my garage, developed it and decided to move. Basically, I was already in the Bay Area, but the location of being here in the East Bay area was fundamental for our success. First of all, the talent pool. The second thing is we consider ourselves as a solution provider, one piece of the jigsaw. So basically, the other components all around us. So literally completed our objective. So if I need prototyping, I don't have to hire engineers and build a department and have a huge investment. I'll go to a company like Brian's, or that does prototyping. They're close by. So this is exactly what we did. We went to a company in the Bay Area. Actually, it's in San Andrew. ProtoQuick helped us out in prototyping and producing product quickly. Now we need plastics parts of it. It's basically in Newark. There is a factory that's available there. We now, because of the amount of product we produce, we need robotics. Again, in San Andrew, automation robotics. So everything is around us. The talent pool, whether it is providing the major components of our process or people building these major components, are here in the Bay Area. On top of that, our customer base, we're a biotech company. A lot of our customers is in either, on the other side of the Bay, and us being close to, San Mateo Bridge is very easy access to a lot of customers. Last thing, we did a critical decision early on that everything we build needs to be built in the US. And that's actually helped us quite a bit in supplying every order coming through for Covet testing. And it's all 20 minutes from where we're at. So basically, literally all the components are coming from the Bay Area.
Thank you, Bassam. That's a great segue into the next question. And I have to put a plug in for Mannix here. One of the things that Mannix focuses on is supporting American-based manufacturers, make it here in America, make it here in the East Bay. So my next question is for you, Bassam. And that question is, how has adapting to COVID-19 helped your business? And how will these lessons learned help your business's future?
So one of the major lessons, so we're still learning. Covet is not done. So we're, all businesses we, at the beginning, we pushed them to the corner. Actually, I want to give a shout out to Mannix. I'm actually one of their clients. So,
Thank you.
They helped us quite a bit in identifying the gaps that we need to fulfill in terms of regulatory aspect of things. This is another great thing actually in the Bay Area. You get all these kind of talents pulled in. But what we learned is basically to be efficient, try to get sourcing everything locally. Like, this is one thing that actually made things develop quicker and faster. So the other thing we learned is the most valuable asset of any manufacturing process, of course, is humans, is people. So you have to take care of your people. You have to take care of them in terms of safety, well-being, and just, especially in these hard times. And this is what we actually focused on as well. People think that, when you get a piece of ice cream, it just happened, it's not. There are people behind it,
Right.
You're getting, if those people are, God forbid, are sick, you're not gonna, indulge on an ice cream or even turn on your phone. So this is the things that we changed quite a bit in our environment. We changed quite a bit in our process. I think also one of the things actually we're trying to figure out, and maybe my colleagues could help me, is, okay, we did what, from a business standpoint, we're delivering, we're doing okay. How can you maintain the business moving forward year after year? This is another challenge. We expanded for ourselves, the way that we manage the business, we expanded all of a sudden. Something we planned to expand in 5 years, we had to do it this year in 2 months. So this is something also is we are working toward on it. Is like, how can we manage that growth and help maintain it without compromising our staff well-being?
Thank you, Bassam. Mark, same question. How has adapting to COVID-19 helped your business, and how will these lessons learned help your business's future?
Yes, great question. So one of the things that happened in our business early on was obviously a lot of people went home, and we only brought back the people that were absolutely essential to the operation as per the rules. Those people had to be more efficient and more effective in what they did. And in addition to that, those people had to learn how to do not only their skill, but cross-train to other skills. What that allowed our company to do is to have a deeper understanding of the entire picture of the manufacturing process for our staff. People could play more than one role in that process. And the efficiencies were noticed. We did a study, and our revenue actually increased during this period of time. Initially when, April, May, June kind of timeframe because of the essential needs. But we did it with less people. So now we had something that we could make our company more efficient at being able to produce and make it more scalable as the business grew, not only during this time period, but what we anticipate at the end of this time period. A lot of customers are shut down, and we're not supplying them today. So the lesson learned was how to be more efficient, how to be more versatile with your workforce, and how to apply that to a scalable future.
Thank you, Mark. And PJ, how has adapting to COVID-19 helped your business, and how will these lessons learned help your business's future?
To kind of relate to what Dr. Famali said, people is definitely the number one. So the first thing we did is we tried to get better at listening to everybody. Our workforce is distributed, just here in California across 4 physical sites. Thankfully, all in the same time zone, but we also have distribution in Honolulu. So once we're able to really hear people's real concerns, we were able to start getting better at communicating. Especially early on when things were changing so much, we made a commitment to our teams that we would give them the best, most up-to-date information and try and pick it out of all of the slog and provide it to them. So we started this daily update to just give people a connection to us, the ability for them to reply with questions, but for the most part, just so that they know that we're here, what we're doing. And that was probably the most important thing that we could have done. Work from home is, it just like you've been hearing, it certainly works. I think the workplace of the future had been already starting to explore what a real flexible work schedule looks like in order to achieve a better work-life balance for workers. And I think this really just kind of forced us all into it. And more people, it's about 84% of our people in a poll that are transitioning to work from home would favor staying in that partial work from home state for the foreseeable future. And we're strongly considering that. We also found that that because we were shifting so much volume from industrial and food service applications to retail packs take more line time and more resources and more materials in general. So we had to rethink our capacity planning and start making some hard choices about what we could produce, because demand was skyrocketing in certain areas, and our old product sales patterns were completely thrown out the window. Every week we had a new surprise and a new challenge to kind of meet. So overall, I think while a few of our employees have lost some family members to this awful disease, we have found COVID, I think, to be a burning platform for us to come together even stronger as a business and as a family business. Our mission has always been to nourish our community. It always starts with the people that are inside our walls. But now, I spoke to that guilt earlier on at being an essential business. We also started to realize that feeding the workforce that is out there, that is doing the really, really difficult and important work, is just as important. So once we came to stride with that, I noticed this big boost in morale. A lot more communication on our digital platforms across multiple generations of workers, which was a big surprise. So yeah, that their resiliency and their spirit, I think, is what has really carried us through as a leadership team.
Thank you, PJ. And Brian, how has adapting to COVID-19 helped your business, and how will these lessons learned help your business's future?
Oh, there were some fortunate byproducts of this, and I guess one of those being we've been involved in more medical projects that we don't normally do because we don't have all of the certifications necessary for medical work at a production volume. But from a prototype perspective, we've had a lot of new opportunities for COVID testing devices, ventilators, and projects like that. So it certainly exposed us to a new customer base. That part's been fortunate, but operationally speaking, similar to some of the other panelists described, I think really what it's forced us to do is to focus on efficiencies and ask ourselves some really tough questions, like, do we really need somebody physically here at the facility to do a certain role, or is there a way we can automate that? So we've done more digital type automation work, more than we had before. I think we were already pretty involved in that. We've had work like remote employees for many years, partially due to the fact that it's been difficult hiring top quality engineers at the rates that we can afford to do so. So we've got employees in different states, and that's kind of always been something that we've been built for. But we've gone from about 10% remote staff to maybe 30% remote staff now, and really only the the folks that are really essential to the production process are here. So again, it's made us really take a hard look and ask ourselves some tough questions about how do we optimize, our efficiency in operations.
Thank you, Brian. And the next question is also for you, Brian, and it'll be open to the rest of the panel as well. You're in a pretty competitive market, semiconductor manufacturing. How can local government and regional champions support the East Bay manufacturing sector? What are your thoughts on that?
I think in legislation that encourage buying local, whether local is defined as Bay Area or United States, I think those types of programs are, are beneficial to us. And we always tell people, we do a lot of tours and we bring people in and describe our role here. And in addition to being at the center of innovation or helping to speed innovation in Silicon Valley, we also feel like what we do, even though it's sometimes viewed as a commodity, is really critical to our national security as a whole. Because if the country can't produce its own circuit boards, we have to go to other countries to get that, and that creates issues. So I know there's been some recent legislation, a National Defense Authorization Act, that's encouraged, the Department of Defense to purchase more products locally. And I think programs like that are going to be very, very helpful for companies like us.
Thank you, Brian. And Mark, same question for you. How can local government and regional champions support the East Bay manufacturing sector?
So that's a great question. I sort of echo a little bit of what Brian said, and completely agree. And moreover, I'd sort of echo what PJ talked about, which is communications. Having things built locally is really important, not only for our customer base that we deal with, Silicon Valley, but having the people at the legislative or the government level communicate things. When people are writing notes as saying this is an essential worker, and that's the official form to show a policeman on why you're driving to work. Having the ability to communicate what the personal protection equipment available is. We early on wrote to the state of California and different people saying, look, I can produce 1 million of something in a month at my facility here in Newark. We'd like to make ventilators. We are medically certified as a manufacturer. Nobody responded. Great news that all this stuff needed to happen, but we reached out to 30, 40 different government officials asking, how can we help? We're not trying to make money. We just want to be part of the solution to this. So there is a disconnect between the communication of what's our local manufacturing East Bay can do and what's needed, and there's not a connection. So how can the government help? They can help connect those dots. It can help communicate how people, whether it's PJ or whether it's Brian, whether it's Dr. Bassam, how these kinds of companies can assist in the solution of problems that we don't foresee. COVID's today. We don't know what tomorrow is. But we'd like to think that with our wherewithal, with everyone's wherewithal, coming together, we can help be part of the solution.
Thank you, Mark. And Bassam, over to you, the same question. Why did you locate in the East Bay, and how is the location critical to, I'm sorry.
Wrong question.
Wrong question, I apologize. How can local government and regional champions support the East Bay manufacturing sector?
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to actually, Mark just finished with an awesome aspect of it. Everybody spoke. Brian, BJ spoke fundamentally great points into this. So I'll give you actually a real life example. When the coronavirus started and people were, it was chaos in terms of who's doing testing, where are we going to get the testing supplies, shortages of swabs, testing material. One of our employees, her dad works at the Hayward Fire Department. So she was like, my dad wants to talk to you. They want to do a drive-through testing and they cannot get supplies. I was like, okay. He gave me a call. Actually, the Hayward fire chief called me And I said, okay, I can give you sample collection, but I cannot do the testing. You have to do the testing through this company, which was Avellino. It's the early ones, which is basically in Palo Alto. So literally had, the government figured out, or the local government and municipalities figure out what kind of sample talents we have, or what types of products we make. They would have reached the conclusion. It was like, okay, Maui can provide this to that. So they can connect the dots. In our case, I had literally to connect the dots between the Hayward Fire Department and Avellino. And basically, this is how the first drive-through testing happened in the Bay Area by the initiative of the Hayward Chief Fire Department.
Wow.
So this is a real example of lack of, I would say, map or blueprint of what technologies, what tools we have around here. And it actually connects to, to the original part of this is we have so much talent here, so much expertise and I would say components of success that can make things work. Just putting the dots together, from the government and municipalities. I'll actually put it little down, like not, talking about the state government. It's more of the municipalities to the level of the, understand what you have. We were featured on NBC, but we never seen any of the, the Hayward officials coming through talking to us to be advocate for the technology. This is what we want them to do, is basically saying, hey, we make this here in the Bay Area. Everything, like from the sample collection. I'm just, sorry guys, I'm passionate about this because this is something that we went through it. And definitely this is one of the lessons learned, and we continue to learn, is getting our officials, the elected officials, to be more involved on what we do here is more than enough for us, and communicate on our behalf more than, everybody follows the tax, laws. Everybody is contributing to the community. We actually, to help, one last thing I would talk about. One thing we did is we reached out to colleges around here. So, with distance learning and, stay-at-home orders, a lot of the college students lost their jobs, in fast food restaurants. So they're available. This is something, also help us to address the need in this area. And this is the perfect place, Bay Area, that we have so many colleges around us. And it was a reliable source of talent coming through. Again, we have to do all this on our own. It's because we want to maintain our business. So we need more involvement of the elected officials to advocate of what kind of services we offer.
Thank you, Bassam. And finally, PJ, same question, and then we'll open it up to the audience questions. The question is, how can local government and regional champions support the East Bay manufacturing sector, PJ?
There's three things that I think that I would like to see. Of course, I agree with everyone else. Better communication, more made in the U.S., a better coordination and understanding of the resources that are here. That is, I think, that's going to be like the key innovation kind of piece that they can provide. In terms of the more kind of nuts and bolts of it, what I would like to see is one, support for more specialized workforce development. And I want to cite one example. The steel plant that's out here in Pittsburgh has worked with Los Bononos College for a number of decades to create an e-tech program where they are basically teaching steel manufacturing, critical welding. They have a welding shop, and even automation and process controls and things like that. And so it's kind of like this trade school program that was folded into a local community college. But as far as I know, it's primarily funded by the steel company. It's been tremendously successful. And there's a lot of new skills that are rapidly emerging that, that a lot of the workforce just hasn't been exposed to yet. And so I think that can expose a huge dichotomy and also a wage disparity where you have talent that can't get exposed and because employers are maybe favoring talent that has already been exposed to this new technology. So that's one, support for specialized training in manufacturing. Number two is a clearer path to cheaper biofuels and microgrids in the state of California. We have a ton of solar panels and we have a fuel cell, and we're always making all kinds of energy efficiency upgrades and calculating our energy usage strategically, because the cost of energy in California will continue to go up. That is a guarantee. So the best bet you can make in the house is on yourself. So we have to make it easier for us to bring in our own self-generation, lower the cost of that, and develop microgrids so that we can do things like peak shaving, avoid public power shutoffs, and even aid the grid when there are critical emergencies. And finally, there is this great program called Compete California that used to fund a lot of money to help offset the cost of sales tax for buying manufacturing equipment and having it delivered in California. We have been able to avail of that program in the past, and it's a very, very worthwhile program. So we'd love to see that program be expanded to encourage more East Bay manufacturers to invest in their own innovation.
Thank you, PJ. And we're going to open it up now to some questions from the viewers. And this is a perfect question for you to sort of kick off, PJ, because you talked about this. Are you able to find enough qualified talent in Alameda and Contra Costa County in the midst of this pandemic? PJ.
Right now, yes. We'd been growing prior to the pandemic, so our teams had been in pretty good shape. So right now, what we've been looking for is some entry-level work, but also we've brought on some quality assurance positions. And because of just the massive shifts in different industries, there's a lot of applicable talents that come from other industries. So we were able to absorb some workforce that was displaced.
Thank you. And Mark, same question for you. Are you able to find enough qualified talent in Alameda and Contra Costa counties in the midst of the pandemic?
Actually, the talent pool has gone up from our perspective. We're always looking at resumes, and the qualification of the individuals applying are the highest I've ever seen. I think that's a really bad sign for the Bay Area, meaning you've got a lot of talented people looking for work. But our ability to, I've run probably 15 interviews in any given month. And the level of those interviews are much higher. So yes, the answer is simply yes, but I do think it's a bad sign because that clearly means they're not employed by someone else, or they're concerned about that employment with someone else.
Thank you, Mark. And Brian, same question. Are you able to find enough qualified talent in Alameda and Contra Costa counties?
Traditionally, that's been quite a challenge for us. I think we definitely struggle finding engineer level folks that we can afford to pay. I mean, we compete with a lot of large companies in this area, so compensation is always a factor. And again, that's kind of why we've been transitioned some of those folks to remote, and we've got an employee in Oregon and an employee in Colorado. So we're spread around a little bit. And then we, from an operator level here in Fremont, we've got an aging workforce too. So that's another challenge for us. And, any opportunity we can take to introduce, younger folks to manufacturing as a viable career path, we try to take advantage of that. I know Friday is manufacturing day. So, we're participating in a presentation to, I think, 100 or so students. And that's something we've done every year for the last 5 or 6 years. And tends to be relatively effective in just kind of showing folks like, hey, manufacturing is not now things are higher tech, and we need kind of a different skill set. And and again, manufacturing may not be what you picture in your head.
Thank you, Brian. And Bassam, same question for you.
Yes, absolutely. So the talent, we found the right talent. We actually expanded quite a bit our team, and the Bay Area is just wonderful of giving the right talent for us. And helped us address different customer needs, or from testing lab requirements. So just it's it has been wonderful. It has been really a good pool of talent. I would speak to that. So
thank you, and I'll let you kick off this next audience question, which is, what can be done to improve the local manufacturing environment? Sort of an open-ended question.
Activities like this activity, actually, but for the manufacturing community, there is, helps put us together and discuss, different ideas, innovation, how we can work together will improve our manufacturing capabilities. Making things local here is, this is one of the biggest lessons learned for us in this COVID pandemic. And basically, just figuring out, creating a map, who does what, and just creating a venue of communication to make things happen. That will actually improve manufacturing, and actually not just improve the manufacturing process, the efficiency of it. So, spending, I might be looking at something to help me improve my manufacturing process, and Brian or Mark already have developed something in that area. So, instead of reinventing the wheel, I can come to them, and here I have it. So, it makes my manufacturing process more efficient. So I think making a venue of, or communication, or creating a database somehow to put all these minds together will improve our manufacturing. This is my point of view.
Thank you, Bassam. Brian, same question. What can be done to improve the local manufacturing environment, in your opinion?
Well, again, I would just point to programs that are introducing younger folks to manufacturing as a career path. The program PJ described with the steel manufacturer, I mean, that type of thing sounds great to us, but we've got limited resources. We don't have the ability to put something like that together on our own. So we either need to pull similar companies together to create something like that, or or we maybe work with local colleges to create that kind of thing. I know we've been the supporter of Ohlone College. They've created an advanced manufacturing program that sort of gets people in and out pretty quickly. I think it's maybe 9 months or 12 months, and sort of exposes them to a bunch of different aspects of advanced manufacturing. Programs like that are fantastic. I mean, it's giving somebody a foundation and showing them what manufacturing is all about, and setting them up for success.
Thank you. And Mark, same question. What can be done to improve the local manufacturing environment, in your opinion? And I just want to sort of also add this little bit. You represent a really large company, so your perspective on this, I think, is a little interesting compared to say Brian, who's a little smaller, or PJ, who is a family-run business. What can be done to improve the local manufacturing environment from sort of a more corporate perspective?
Oh, you set me up for failure here, but so actually, I thought Dr. Bassam's answer was spot on. Is that map of talent, and I think that's really true. So there is a tremendous amount of abilities, capabilities, resources in the Bay Area, but how many of us knew what Dr. Bassam was doing, or how many people knew of us what Brian was doing, or what Unigen's doing at my company? Is that exposure and ability to grow. And a lot of that has to do with could we have more exposure of this is what we specialize in, this is where we are headed, and how does that align to what the local economy needs? And that's very, very difficult because you have a lot of diversity in it. But I knew nothing of PJ until this, or what his company did. You know, we're involved with farming, making equipment for farming, this indoor farming. Very exciting, very cool. It's like the next generation of healthy greens and things like that. And we're super proud of it. But unless someone heard that, how does that get exposed to other people who have similar ideas and say, hey, these guys know what they're doing. How do I take advantage of that? How do I build my business or my business plan around what the talent is locally? And I do think that map is missing. I think that if there's no look up on the internet, show me the manufacturers who specialize in farming, you'll probably get things that won't make sense. If there was a resource that allowed people to take advantage of those talents, specialties, and directions of these various companies, I think that'd be helpful. I don't know how to accomplish that. It's the guy who knows the problem without knowing the answer. It's sort of an uncomfortable position for me. But I think it's where we're at. And I think putting a lot of minds together to help solve that would be great.
Thank you, Mark. I will say before I turn it over to PJ, Mannix Consulting can be a resource for those things. So anyone that's watching or listening, if you do have those types of questions, Mannix is the Amazon for manufacturing, and we're a clearinghouse. We can definitely get you those answers. And over to you, PJ. What can be done to improve the local manufacturing environment in your opinion?
So referring back to what Brian had said about Manufacturing Day, I think most people don't have the right idea about what manufacturing is. But there's this show called How It's Made. This show all about manufacturing and how cool it is. It's in its like 20th season or something. Manufacturing is really cool and it's really sexy. And I think if we can find a way to talk about what we do in that way, then the people that are being, saying, oh, I'm going to join the next TikTok, Snapchat, whatever it is, and to say, well, no, I want to find a way to, automatically make a bajillion N95 masks with next to zero notice, because that makes a huge difference. How can we solve that kind of a problem? It's the same talents that apply. So in addition to that, I think people would, especially at the junior college level, or even in high school, an introduction to manufacturing and industrial design. Anyone that owns a smartphone, which is everybody, is interested in how that thing is made. And I think you're just gonna find people that are gonna just awaken themselves to this greater world and really appreciate what goes into all the things that we use and consume every day.
Thank you, PJ. And I'll turn it over to Stephen to close us out. I wanna thank everyone on the panel for participating, everyone that joined us this morning. Thank you very much. And it's over to you, Stephen.
Well, let's give it up to Dr. Shabaka and our panelists, Brian, Mark, Bassam, and PJ for a great job in giving us a really quick flyover. And I know we would have loved to have even more time to talk today and heard a lot about what you're going to be doing later this week for Manufacturing Day and beyond. So look forward to continuing that work. As we wrap up, just two very quick things. East Bay EDA has been doing these speaker series events for a while. Our next one will be on October 27th at 10 a.m. It's a Tuesday, and it'll be about the gig economy, just in time for a week before the election, which will have, among other things, Prop 22 on there. We also have 2 weeks from tomorrow at 3:30 is not only the 15th of October is not only the day of the second presidential debate, but at 3:30 p.m. we're going to be kicking off our annual East Bay Innovation Awards event, which will be starting at 3:30 and go till 5 o'clock. So you still have time to catch that debate if you're interested. But please go to our website to sign up. There's a nominal fee if you're not a member, and but if you are a member of East Bay EDA, you can attend at no charge. Thanks again to our panelists, and take care. We'll be in touch.
Thank you.